Hey guys, good morning. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It is 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I hate to say this, but it's really starting to look like the end of days. I saw a meme this morning on Facebook, and it said 2020 coronavirus, 2021 murder hornet. And I thought to myself, very funny. Things are going to get worse. And then I found out the murder hornet is a real thing. A huge, possibly lethal hornet the size of an adult thumb found in Washington State. Great. Just great. I guess only 4 of them, I think, have been found, but it's a scary prospect as they kill European honeybees, and honeybees are necessary to our survival. So that's a scary prospect. Now on to the other issue that scares the hell out of me, which I talked to you guys about it a lot, and I don't mean to beat it into the ground, but it keeps moving in that direction. The story keeps getting worse. The story of the Trump administration targeting China as the perpetrator, as the scapegoat for this coronavirus. Yesterday, Mike Pompeo went on a couple talk shows. He says he's got direct evidence, strong evidence that this was made in a lab, possibly the Wuhan laboratory for virology, possibly. Then he was called out by one of the reporters and said, hey, the reporter said, didn't the U.S. intelligence just last week issued a formal statement, U.S. intelligence, formal statement, not man-made. There's scientific consensus that the DNA points to that it went from it was associated with bats, and it mutated a bit, and it was able to jump to humans, which it's happened dozens of times in the past with viruses. They mutate and they become dangerous to humans. The first 27 patients, out of the first 41 patients in Wuhan province, 27 of them had a direct tie to the wet market and the bats and all that. They're not sure about patient 0, the first patient, and if they had a tie to the wet market, which is a problem. They're not. I guess it's probably hard to determine exactly who patient 0 is. Anyway, as I talked about last week, Politico has this. This is all over the Associated Press too. That Politico obtained these memos and documents. It sounded like 2 sets of documents where the Trump administration was being told to push this narrative very strongly. The spokesman, everybody pushed the narrative that China, we got evidence, China's to blame. Last week, Trump said, I've seen it. I've seen this evidence with my own eyes. Just like he said he saw he had evidence about Obama bugging his microwave in Trump Tower. And he had evidence, and he was going to show us next week. He was going to show us his tax returns. They were just getting audited. Well, they've been getting audited for 3.5 years now. He's a big liar. And the thing is, too, his xenophobic base just loves this. They're already running with it. And he's just, it's a story already made for him to save to try to save his ego, his reputation, that he handled this so badly. With the re-election coming up at the end of the year, he's going to need a scapegoat China. And he's pushing this narrative. Man-made, possibly genetically modified. So Pompeo was called out by a reporter. And then you could tell when somebody's lying. These guys, they lie for their living, for their business, and they're not very good at it. Because when Pompeo was called out, that the U.S. intelligence agency said just last week that it wasn't man-made. He said, oh yeah, I agree with that too. So he was contradicting himself right during the interview. Classic liar behavior. I keep seeing more and more posts on Facebook, people blaming China. And as I said now, the deaths are coming up to 70,000. The U.S. economy is badly beaten. People are going to need somebody to blame. And Trump supporters, there's no way in hell they're going to blame Trump. China, it's going to keep progressing in this direction. So what does Trump do next as it gets closer to the election? So he keeps pushing the narrative that China did this. And he's going to keep doing that. We see that now. So what's he going to do next? He's going to have to do something about it because he's the guy with balls. He's the big, strong alpha male that Trump supporters all worship. So of course he's going to have to take action, right? You know. So what's that going to be? So he's actually going to take some kind, I imagine, some kind of economic sanctions. But the problem is he's already taken the 25% tariffs with China. So what now? It scares me, guys. I've talked about this before. It scares me. And every time I see, like I saw Pompeo yesterday on TV, just lying to our faces. And, I've got solid evidence. I've seen solid evidence. Don't have it here with me. Might show you sometime. Might show you next week. But I've seen it. I got solid evidence. Trump says the same thing. I just despise this. They're lying to our faces. They're lying right to our faces. They don't have any direct evidence. That is a lie. When they say, I've seen the evidence, I've seen it, they are lying to the American people. They're lying to millions of American people, just right to our faces. And with a very possibly dangerous, lethal consequences of a world war at the end of this. It's a dangerous road, man. And Trump is just marching down it. Again, this is about him. Win at all costs, re-election, and, he'll handle China. I'm sure he thinks he can handle it. He can manhandle him with his deals and his threats. I don't know. It's a scary thought, along with the murder hornets. But things are good. Things are good. The numbers were down slightly yesterday. They're continuing down. Here in Connecticut, the hospitalizations are decreasing this is the 12th straight day in a row. The hospitalizations have decreased in Connecticut. Yay. That's great news. And the deaths yesterday were the lowest in, I just glanced at it, but in at least a month, maybe a month and a half, the lowest deaths yesterday. So that's good news, guys. All right, you guys have a good Monday. I'll be back shortly.